The wind blows pleasantly through my fur, seeping underneath and cooling my sweating skin. The smell of the desert, sagebrush, and dirt overwhelm my senses. Everything is black around me, but there are a million stars above me. I hear the smattering of small feet running circles around my body, snuffing up noses against my sides and neck. Mixed into the sound of the wild are words, languages I don't understand, chanting and singing and the sounds of dancing. Then another language. I hear a word or two that I learned from Leo years ago, and then my own language. And above it all is the maniacal laugh is a maniacal cackling, one that builds and fades before choking off into a sob. The first feeling I have is one of confusion. I feel stiff and cold, and I'm lying back on something hard. I expect to see stars above me when I open my eyes, but instead all I see is blackness. All I see is blackness.
Darkness isn't here right now. That's an old reference, ain't
Yeah. I am void where prohibited.
it? Yeah.
Panic starts to well up inside me. My breathing quickens, and though it's hard and painful, I manage to push myself up into a sitting position. That's when I see a gentle glow coming from an opening about 30 feet away from me. Where am I? The last thing I remember was the lake. Wait, no. Carl's house is the last thing I remember. We went back to his house after the lake. Did I fall asleep in his house somewhere? I feel around on the floor with my hands and can feel wood underneath me. It creaks as I shift around. Carl? My voice comes out hard and cracky. I have to lick my lips several times to keep them from sticking together. I call out again, but more softly this time because I'm starting to wonder if someone else brought me here. When I don't hear anything, I start to crawl forward towards the light. My head throbs a little, and there's a coppery taste in my mouth. Probing my tongue around, taste the sour of bites along I taste the sour of bites along my cheeks. I start to run through a list of things that could have happened. I was in Carl's basement, then I just sort of seized up. Did someone hit me over the head? I stop crawling and start moving my hands around my body and over my head. No, no signs of any injuries. Aside from my cheek bites, it's really just the inside of my head that hurts. While I do this, lucidity starts to return in waves as if a dam has broken and all of my senses are falling back into place. At the same time, the panic starts to return as I realize how much this doesn't make sense. Someone had to have brought me here, wherever here is. I start crawling again, trying to keep my panic under control. I'm almost to the glow, but it's weird because it's coming from the ground. As I get closer, I hear soft brushing behind my head. I tense up and look over my shoulder. I'm greeted by the sight of inky blackness, so dark that it almost feels alive, and I get the impression of a giant mouth opening up in front of my face. The imagery gives me a jolt and I lunge forward, deciding to get up on my feet so I can move fast. And then I'm falling, but not for long. My senses are full of light now, and I throw my hands towards forward and catch myself. But I keep falling, and the split second before I hit, I realize there's a ladder. I instinctively grab it, but my head hits the rungs first, and I flip over before landing on my feet. It happens on weak ankles though. And my right foot gives out and my ankle rolls. I hear a series of pops before the rest of my body hits the floor. I lay there for a moment, the sudden noise and violence of the fall stunning me. In my stupor, I feel a cold spiderweb of electricity pulsing from my ankle, and that's what spurs me to move. I pull myself into a sitting position and clutch at it. Fuck. The pain isn't really bad, but something is definitely wrong, and I'm not sure if I can walk on it. That's when I notice my surroundings. A long hallway stretches out on either side of me, lit by decorative chandeliers. Looking up, I see that I've fallen down a drop down ladder and from a small square in the ceiling. What the hell? I look back down at my ankle. I wiggle it around and immediately feel another pulse of electricity that feels much more painful this time around. I grit my teeth as I spread my hands out against the wall behind me, pushing myself up slowly, making sure not to put any weight on my injured ankle. As I'm doing this, I hear soft clopping sounds coming from my right. At the end of the hall, it looks like it takes a sharp right, and it sounds like the noises are coming from that turn. My throat tightens as I press myself harder up against the wall. I see a shadow slide up the carpet at the end of the hallway, and I hold my breath. The shadow stops too, and I get the feeling that whatever it is might be holding its own breath. Finally, the tension gets to me, and I clear my throat nervously. Carl?
Chase?
Carl! I let out a gasp of relief and almost sagged down into the wall. Down, more clopping of footsteps, and Carl appears around the corner. His eyes are wide and his nostrils flare. He stumbles up to me, his hands clasped together nervously.
Holy shit, dude. It's so fucking good to see you.
I press up harder against the wall, taking more weight off my foot. What the hell is going on?
I don't know. I just woke up. You okay?
He looks at me, then down at my foot.
Are you hurt?
I gesture up at the ladder. I fell down that thing. Carl looks up the ladder and the dark hole it leads up to.
What were you doing up there?
I don't know. I just woke up in the dark and tried to crawl out.
Shit.
Carl bends down to look at my ankle, which is clearly starting to swell.
It's broke, bro.
Yeah, looks like it might be broke.
Want me to cut it off? I found the saw.
What is this, made in abyss? It's the only way.
I think there's this big guy with a weird mask.
We're gonna need what's her name to come and save us.
Yeah. Can you walk?
I think so. Kind of. He stands back up and looks around.
Chase, I don't know what's going on. I just woke up in a bedroom up the hall like 20 minutes ago.
This is not part of your house? Carl lets out a breathy, incredulous laugh.
No, definitely not. I was trying to find a window, but I can't.
Maybe we're in a basement or something? The last thing I remember is your crawl space.
Why would they have an attic in a basement?
I look back up at the dark hole in the ceiling. Maybe it's not an attic.
Chase, I'm freaking out.
And it shows too. His breathing is picking up and his wide nostrils flaring again. I reach out and put a hand on his shoulder, giving some reassuring squeezes. No, it's okay. Maybe we got really high or drunk or something, and what's the last thing you remember? Carl starts clicking his fingers together again, looking away up the hall.
Flynn trying to kill TJ? The lake?
Yeah? I remember we went back to your house, then down to the basement, and then. Carl frowns.
I don't remember.
I watch him carefully. And Alzheimer's is not supposed to begin this early, but. By the way, fun fact, because I brought up Alzheimer's, AI has actually found what it thinks could be a cause of Alzheimer's and may be coming up with treatments.
AI? Nice.
Yeah. So, we'll see in the next 10 years. Maybe we can conquer Alzheimer's.
We can conquer.
Huh?
What was it again?
Where am I?
Who am
Where
I?
are we?
Where am I? Why am I? Why is Gamora?
What is that? It's so big and round. So
And
grand and
grand.
round.
I know, I'll call it ground. Hi, Ground.
I watch him carefully. But then I remember looking behind the plastic bins and there was this. We both jump as the scream comes from down the hall. Carl and I both look at each other, wide-eyed.
What the hell?
Someone! Hello! Is someone there?
That sounds like
That-
Raven.
Carl starts to hesitantly walk up the hallway, and I move to follow and immediately regret it as soon as I put weight on my ankle. It's completely stiff now, and pain shoots up into my shin like lightning. My gasping causes Carl to turn around in confusion. Then his eyes light up when he sees my leg.
Oh, shit. Here.
He reaches out, and I wrap my arm around his neck. He's sturdy and strong, easy to lean against, and I sigh in relief as I take the weight off my injured ankle.
Somebody!
We hobble our way down the hall, following the sound of Raven's panicking voice. We take a left, and at the end of the hall, and are confronted with an almost identical hallway to the last. That's when I start to smell smoke. Do you smell that? Carl puts his nose up.
Something burning?
I almost jump again as the sound comes from right on our left. The only door on the left side of the hallway. We both look up at the door for a moment, Carl's ears perked straight up. And then we both jump against it as the door shakes from several heavy bashes that rattle the frame. The cry is mournful, like he's given up.
Raven?
The shaking and pounding stops.
Carl! Carl!
The voice instantly turns hopeful, and the voice grows muffled, as if Raven is pressing his muzzle right up against the door.
I'm stuck! I'm stuck! The door won't open! And there's the fire!
What?
There's something burning on the stove! There's something! I got it!
Me and Carl look at each other in bewilderment.
Guys! It's getting really smoky in here! I can't really see anything!
He gives a cough.
Achoo! And it's really hard to breathe!
Sneeze instead.
Think I have the black lung.
All right, hold on a sec, man. We'll get you out.
Carl shifts me to the wall so I can lean against it. Then he tries the doorknob. The knob barely turns, clearly locked.
Shit.
Yeah, it's locked. It's getting really hot in here.
Hold on.
Carl shoves his shoulder up against the door. It gives a few creaks, but otherwise stays solid.
Please help.
His plaintive whimpering is barely audible through the thick wood. What kind of lock is it? Maybe we could pick it? Carl studies the knob.
I don't think a paperclip is going to work.
I lean in and look and find myself staring at an old-fashioned keyhole. The hell?
Raven, can you unlock it from that side?
No, there's nothing there. Guys, I can't breathe.
His voice is getting desperate again. There's no other way out? No other door in there? Raven doesn't answer, and Carl and I wait for a moment. Wait for a good 10 seconds. Raven?
Oh, that just went off. I don't know. Hold on. Something around it.
We both jump for the third time before Carl presses his face up to the door.
Raven, what happened?
For a few seconds, all we hear is coughs. Then Raven's voice is lower, up against the bottom of the door as if he's laying down.
Something in the smoke. Help!
What? What's in the smoke? My mind flashes back to what I heard in the attic.
Something. Can't see. Open the door.
Did my voice cut off right there with door?
No, you seemed alright.
Okay. Fuck. All right, man. Stand back.
I don't know if he's talking to me or Raven, but I step back anyway. Carl takes a few steps back, then throws his body forward, smashing up against the door. It shudders a little bit, and I hear a crack or two, but otherwise there's no change. He tries it again with the same results. Carl, I don't think that's gonna work. Carl doesn't say anything, instead backing up until his back touches the opposite wall. He takes a deep breath, charges forward, his head down this time. Instinctively, I close my eyes, imagining Carl snapping his neck right in front of me. The impact this time is much louder, and it's accompanied by a crunch. When I open my eyes, it's not Carl's neck that's broken, but rather the wooden door. Carl's head has completely busted through the door, so that his head is poking into the other side. I stare, expecting to see the tendrils of black smoke snaking out from around the broken door, but there's nothing. Carl sets his hands on either side of the door, apparently taking a look around.
Raven, you okay?
I walk up to Carl's side and put a hand on his back. Carl, what is it? Is there a fire? Carl braces himself up against the door before pushing back, yanking his head out of the opening. He comes up with a bunch of wooden splinters clinging to his head fur and beard and sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt? Is that what he wore to the interview?
He probably he probably swapped it out when he got home.
No, they just went straight to the place, so I guess maybe that's a typo. But it looks like he's still in his interview shirt and
yeah.
Oh, anyways, nothing.
That's why the interview went so poorly.
Huh?
He's walked up with a purple sweatshirt on.
No.
Actually, I think that would have the opposite effect. Like, think about it. Like some dude just shows up to an interview with you. He's got very clearly a dress shirt on and a tie, and then he's got just like a blue or purple sweatshirt on. He's like, "Hey, I'm here for the interview." It's like, okay, well, this guy's very confident in himself. I ducked down and looked through the opening as well, taking care to keep weight off my injured foot. I'm greeted to the sight of a brightly lit room and kitchen, but it's clear there's no smoke in sight.
It was completely black in here a second ago.
I look down at the trembling voice of Raven below me and see the husky curled up, his head poking up from his fetal position.
Hey, Chase.
Hi.
I don't know what happened. There was smoke everywhere. It's like when you opened the door, it all got sucked out.
I sniff, and now I can't even get a whiff of smoke aside from the residual taste I still have in the back of my throat. I hear a click next to my head and look over to see the doorknob twist. I pull my head out of the hole and Carl pulls the door open.
Are you kidding me? It was locked, right?
It was definitely locked. Raven gets up, brushing shaky hands down his shirt.
You okay, man?
Yeah. Just thought I was going to die for a second.
I watch as Raven struggles to keep his ears perked. What happened? What happened? Raven takes a deep breath.
I don't know. I just woke up in here. Smoke just started coming out from the stove or oven or something.
Okay, I have a theory.
Go ahead.
And that theory is that Raven, his past trauma was that he was in a burning building.
Mm.
And that he got stuck in a burning building. Because remember, the hysteria in this town, it takes your deepest memories, like your worst traumas, and then just feeds them back to you. And wherever the hell they are, it has the ability to sort of manifest this stuff as sort of a pseudo real thing that can actually hurt you. But if you find a way to escape from that, then it kind of just stops supplying the energy to make it happen. So like think Shadow Conjuration from D&D or Pathfinder.
That's one where you kind of reach into like a dark space and you can pull out like a shadow weapon. It just kind of crystallizes into something solid.
Sort of. So like shadow spells in D&D and Pathfinder, you basically pull shadow energies from the plane of shadows, called the Netherlands now in Pathfinder, because the Netherworld in Pathfinder now, because D&D went and did their whole idiotic thing where they copyrighted everything. Anyway, different story. But you pull energy from that, and then you shape that energy into an illusion where people believe it's real. It affects them as though it's the actual spell you're emulating. So you could like emulate a fireball, and it's not a real fireball, it's an illusory one. But if they believe that it's real, it does full damage to them, and they have to make a save as normal. If they don't believe it's real, so they pass the will save, then it does reduced damage, and they make the whatever the save associated with it is normally after that point, and apply that. So like if it's fireball, it might be 20% real if they disbelieve it. And then if they pass the reflex save, they take half damage from the 20%. So do like 10% damage. But, that's what I think is going on here. And there's something else that is like, it's called a maze, where you can basically just teleport people into a sort of demi-plane, a sort of false reality. And I think that's where they might be right now. And this might be in the mines.
It might be.
And this might be like an image that's placed over the mines that they are seeing. Or it could be an actual space that's in the mines that the Hendricks used to live in. Used to actually live in. But I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll find out, I guess.
Pretty good theory. Yeah, we'll find out.
All right.
Go for it,
You
Chase.
said you said you saw something?
Yeah, something in the smoke. They look like arms or something. It started singing about how it feels so good to be bad. Smoke
Carl and I
above,
look at each other.
smoke below.
Carl and I look
Toxic love.
Carl and I look at each other, unaware of this thing that seems so good to be bad.
But it might have just been the smoke.
I look around the room, scanning it for any sign of the black smoke that Raven was so adamant about having seen. I don't think he was just seeing things, because I'm pretty sure I hadn't imagined the smell.
I promise I'm not lying. It's just what I saw.
I think the bigger issue here is that we're here at all. I mean, where the hell is here? I spread my hands out, giving an incredulous laugh.
I thought it was just another part of your house.
Raven looks at Carl.
I mean, I went downstairs after you guys and found this hole. Then everything went black. Everything went dark.
Carl looks down. Same here. I followed Carl. We both look at Carl, but he doesn't say anything, instead just moving past Raven into the large kitchen next to the dining room. I hobble after him, then reach out to lean against the counter. I try to gather my thoughts. Everything still feels dreamlike, surreal, and my thoughts are sluggish. Carl, do you have any idea what happened? I mean, that whole... Did you go there too? Carl sets his hands on his hips, eyes wandering around the room.
Honestly, I can't remember anything that happened after the lake, man.
Raven casts a sidelong look at me before moving next to Carl.
Well, maybe it would just take a second before you can remember. I was really confused when I woke up here. I was curled up over there on that counter.
Raven points at a marble countertop, under a row of a dozen pans hanging from a fixture attached to the ceiling. We stand there in silence as, I imagine, we individually absorb the situation we're in. Carl, are you sure this isn't some extension of your house? Maybe something that leads out of the crawl space? The ram laughs, but it definitely isn't genuine.
Ha ha ha. Dude, I think I'd know if this was some part of my house. Unless my parents have been building this secret kitchen underground for who knows how long.
I glance at the lighting, which is definitely electric, then over at what looks like an electric stove. While everything is sort of old-fashioned, while everything sort of looked old-fashioned, there was a mixture of modernity to it as well. Well, where else could we be? Raven and I remember going into the crawl space, then losing consciousness after we found that hole, which is where you went, Carl. Carl finally does turn to me at that point, his brow furrowed.
Do you think I had something to do with this?
Even though I was implying that he might know more, Carl's sudden jump to being defensive catches me by surprise. No, I just wonder if you might have more ideas since it's your house, you know? Carl laughs again. I'm struck by the fullness of it. Usually when Carl laughed, it was crackly and half-hearted. Now it's loud and a little abrasive.
Think I just waited in the shadows and drugged you all up with acid or some shit?
I don't respond, just watching Carl as he stares back at me, breathing hard. Raven coughs loudly.
Hey, guys, let's calm down. You know, I'm kind of hungry. Why don't we make some food?
That seemed to break Carl out of his stare down with me as he looks over at Raven and huffs out one of his more characteristic chuckles.
Really, Raven?
Yeah, that always makes me feel better.
Raven starts opening cupboards, but each one is empty. Carl turns back to me, frowning.
Sorry, Chase. I'm just fucking freaked out, too. Thing is, I don't think we're in my house anymore. This certainly isn't Echo. We might be in Kansas.
Ooh, Kansas.
It's a tornado.
Could it be that a tornado? Yeah, could it be that a tornado came in and sucked us out of the crawl space and then deposited us here?
Yeah, right. There's a magic tornado. It's shaped as a school bus.
It's a magic evil tornado.
It's a tornado elemental.
Yeah. He chuckles again.
I mean, are we even in Echo? What time is it anyway?
I reach in my pocket to check my phone, and that's when I remember I have a fucking phone. I almost jump with the realization and shove a hand into my pocket to pull it out. Why didn't I think of that before?
What?
Phone! I pull it out excitedly and hit the button to turn the screen on. And I'm met with a black screen. My phone's dead. Are you kidding me? I hold the power button down, but nothing happens. I look up to see Raven and Carl getting similar results. Raven shaking his head is as if that's going to help. Carl shakes his head.
Were we out that long? This is crazy.
I press my hand to my face for a moment, the idea that this could still be some sort of dream coming to mind. I remember after taking an overnight job back when I was a freshman, and how that had fucked up my sleeping schedule. That in turn gave me all kinds of fucked up realistic dreams. Sleep paralysis plagued me to the ends of my wits, and I remember the one time I thought I'd never be able to get up. I was stuck in bed, but each time I sat up and thought it was over, I'd end up sort of waking up again, still lying down, stuck in my sleep paralysis. Dreams within dreams within dreams within dreams.
No food either.
My scattered thoughts collect together long enough for me to decide on the next course of action we should take. All right. This is stupid. We should go out and look around. We'll find the way out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to do that. I looked around a little, but didn't find anything.
I grip the counter a little more tightly as I feel a slight wave of dizziness come over me, making everything feel even less real. But the pain that's shooting up from my ankle is very real, and just a glance down at the ever-growing swelling confirms it. The suspicion that we'd somehow been drugged grows, but I don't want to upset Carl again, so I don't mention it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's just stick together and go. We'll find the way out.
Aw, I'm hungry.
We can eat when we get out. There's no food here anyway. I turn in, even though I do it as lightly as possible. The moment I set my right foot down feels like 100 needles pressed into my ankle. Oh, fuck. Carl's at my side instantly, reaching out a hand to steady me.
Dude, you alright? You know, except for your ankle?
What happened?
I lean all of my weight on the counter at that point, just letting my foot dangle as I hold it off the ground is painful.
Yeah, I've had that before. That fucking
Yeah.
hurts, man.
Not fun.
Although, with Raven saying what happened, kind of makes me. I think you know where I'm going with this, huh? Should have given him a Connecticut. Is that Connecticut?
Connecticut?
New England accent. What happened?
What
What happened? What happened?
Oh my god, dude!
Oh my god, dude! It all makes sense in video. It all makes sense in video game land.
No, then we'd be playing with DSP. I don't know about that.
DSP the happy dog. He is the goodest boy.
Yeah, he's most definitely not. All right, go for it, Carl.
He fell down a ladder and landed on his foot wrong.
What?
But it's only now that it's really starting to hurt. I say that through gritted teeth. The pain is actually making me sweat, and I'm realizing that I might have done more than just sprain it. I don't think I can walk like this.
How did you fall down the ladder?
You woke him in an attic. Here.
Carl hunches down in front of me. My stupefied brain thinks up a butt sex joke, but I manage to keep it canned. You sure? I could just lean against you.
That'll take too long. Besides, it looks like you can't walk at all right now.
Hesitantly, I let go of the counter and let myself sort of fall forward onto the ram's back. He's sturdy and barely budges as I lean all my weight onto him. Carl reaches back with both hands and hitches my legs off the ground as he stands, and I feel all the muscles in his back flex as he does. Damn, Carl. You work out? Carl grunts.
A little bit.
I move my head to the side to keep from knocking my nose against his horns. It's a smart move because just then Carl nods his head in Raven's direction.
Hey, I know this is kind of fucked up, but maybe grab a kitchen knife?
Raven raises an eyebrow at Carl.
Why?
I immediately see what Carl's getting at. We have no idea where we are or who put us here. Might be safe to be ready to defend ourselves, you know?
And you said you saw something in the smoke.
Raven's eyes widen, but he reaches out slowly to pull a knife from the silver-looking knife block. The husky frowns at the shing sound it makes. His ears down and elbows in. It's clear he's never used anything as a weapon before. But I can't blame him, neither have I.
I don't know if I should be the one to do that, though.
Well, you're not strong enough to hold Chase. So I've got my hands tied.
He looks back at me. Hey, I have an idea. Maybe you could give it to Chase?
Joust.
Chase could just joust with it.
Okay, Chase. I'm gonna lower my head and try to ram it as we go by, stab and swipe and everything. You're a knight, man.
He's
You're
just
the
holding
otter
on to one
knight.
of the horns. He holding on to one of the horns like it's reins. He's like,
Yes, Carl like charges. You just hear as if he's galloping.
All right, Carl, go for it.
If anything happens, though, I'll have to drop you and help him out, okay, man?
I chuckled softly. Yeah, no problem. Let's just hope that doesn't have to happen. And with the shaky husky in the lead, we set off back into the hallway. Immediately, it's clear that wherever we are isn't very large. 4 identical hallways lead us around in a perfect square. Is the square slightly going up or down at the same time and seem not to make any kind of sense? Each hallway has 3 doors on the right and 1 on the left, and a latch on the ceiling that leads to an attic. What also becomes immediately clear is that the door on the left leads into the kitchen, but from the kitchen there's only 1 door out. Each time we open the door to the kitchen, we come to realize that the angle in which we enter is the same. The first time this happens, we're mostly just confused, wondering if maybe we backtracked somehow. After the second time, though, Raven laughs.
This isn't real. We're on drugs or something. We're trapped in a Pokemon game. We just have to go left, then right, then take the top door.
Yep, we need to go left, right, up, down, then A, B, and start.
Yeah, who's got the start button?
But we're all seeing the same thing?
Or I'm just having this dream and none of you are real. Here, Chase, let me test this knife.
Bad end. Just like the choice comes up, let him stab you. Tell Carl to run.
The husky's voice is bordering on crazy. That paired with his grin, paired with him holding a knife, is slightly disconcerting. Carl huffs, hitching me up higher on his shoulders.
All right, calm down. Just don't think about it. Let's try the other doors.
I'm a little surprised at how well Carl is taking all of this. I wonder if part of it has to do with any of the weed that might still be in his system. We start trying the doors on the right, and this time things are different. The first door opens up to a wall, just an extension of the beige color of the wall surrounding it. We stare at it for a few moments, and for the first time I get a deep, unsettling terror in the pit of my stomach. I manage to keep it from rising to the surface, but all of this bizarre imagery combined with the surreal haze is making me feel sick and claustrophobic.
Bummer. That's definitely not the way out. On to the next door.
Carl chuckles again, and I feel myself clinging to his attempt at humor just to keep myself sane. The next door opens up to what looks like a bathroom. It's definitely not a modern one, though, since it's complete with a pull chain and a high tank.
Well, at least we've got all the essentials, right?
The next door reveals a room full of tools and chains hanging from the ceiling, along with a sawhorse. The walls, though, are lined with wooden planks, and Carl gently sets me against the hallway wall before hurrying in and peering at the wood.
Fuck, it's just concrete behind it.
I don't bother to ask what the hell is going on again. I'm just starting to accept that where we are can't be explained. More doors are opened, 12 in all. One is completely white and empty. The other one contains a frilly bedroom, which is where Carl says he woke up. Further along, we come across what looks like an office, along with a room decorated with sofas and a chandelier. When we reach one of the doors in the last hall, though, something is different. The first thing we notice is the smell. Though it's faint, we can tell it's sweet and in the most disgusting way possible.
Ugh, what is that?
Raven holds a hand up to his nose as we approach the second to the last door on the last hall. This one is clearly damaged. The wood is splintered in the middle, bulging out slightly as if it had been punched from the other side. We stare at it for a moment, the smell growing stronger. Then it hits me. Oh, God. Do you think... I can't finish, covering my muzzle with both hands. Raven, who had been right up next to the door, steps back, with an arm around his face, looking like he's about to throw up. I imagine the smell is a lot worse for him. Maybe we should skip this one for now. Carl hesitates, then gently sets me down against the wall again.
We need to check every door. This could be the way out, you know?
He looks back at me, but I don't say anything, just grimacing at the door. He holds out a hand to Raven.
Knife.
After handing it over, Raven takes several more steps back, further into the hall. I press my hands up to my muzzle, readying myself to shut my eyes. As Carl turns the knob, I grit my teeth. The room has no illumination. Therefore, we have to rely on the light from the hallway to see inside. As the light from the opening door spreads across the room, I see that it's rather simple. The walls are concrete, peppered with craters and rocks. The floor is smoother, but with webs and cracks in its surface. I can't see the ceiling, but I do see what's hanging from it. Once the door opens up completely, there's enough light to fully take in exactly what it is. A noose, frayed and old looking, but unmistakably a noose. Carl stares at it, then sticks his head in further to look back and forth before sweeping back to close the door.
What was it?
Raven calls up from the hall, his hands clasped nervously together. I notice then that the rotting smell is completely gone now, instead of getting stronger when Carl opened the door.
Nothing. Empty room.
I see Carl visibly trying to keep his breath under control as he holds a knife out to Raven before bending down in front of me again.
Really? Oh, thank God.
Carl trembles as he stands up with me in tow. As the husky moves on to the front door, to the final door, I lean in next to Carl's cheek. You okay? Did you see anything? He turns his head towards me, touching his cheek to mine.
Aside from the rope? No.
It's hard to say whether or not I believe him, or if he's just trying to protect me from whatever else he saw in there. Either way, I don't press for it. The last door is locked. It's big and made of small logs. Its deep brown color contrasts with all the others. Raven jiggles the handle a few times, and Carl tries to look into the cracks between the logs, but it's completely black. So that's it. That's all the doors. I'm starting to feel a certain level of panic again now that I know that we're stuck. Carl, I think, picks up on that and comes over to where I'm leaning against the wall and sets a hand on my shoulder.
It's all right, man. We haven't checked the attic either. I mean, there aren't any windows. So like you said, we're probably in a basement or something, right?
The reassuring hand feels good, but it's not exactly enough to keep me from feeling a certain level of despair. Honestly, I think I'm still dreaming right now. Carl doesn't say anything to that. Raven sidles up next to me.
Well, dream or not, I'm still pretty hungry.
We both glance at Raven, and I can't help but give a little laugh at the grin on his face. I guess, for now at least, it's best just not to think about it. We head back to the kitchen, which doesn't take very long because every door on the left leads to it. We split up and search the many cupboards and drawers in the kitchen for food. We come up mostly empty, only finding silverware and cooking utensils here and there. Because of my injury, I cover a lot less ground, only able to hobble around along the counter, still using it as a crutch as I move down a line of cupboards. Even if we were able to find any food, there's no way I'd be able to cook it. The only thing I'd ever been able to make on my own was a grilled cheese sandwich back when I was in high school. Even then, I'd mostly burned down the house. I'd almost burned down the house when I dropped a piece of
my house.
yeah, burned down.
I was like mostly burned down my house. There's just one room
Yeah.
left.
I mostly burned it down. Mostly. Even then, I'd almost burned. Even then, I'd almost burned down the house when I dropped a piece of bread on the gas stove. In a panic, I threw the flaming bread across the kitchen into the living room. I smile at the memory as I open the last cupboard along the wall, and right in front of me is a black piece of cheese on a glass plate. Next to it is a loaf of bread in a plastic bag, and a small square of butter wrapped in waxed paper. I stare for a moment, waiting for the food in front of me to disappear. I even blink a few times to be sure. Guys?
What's up?
You seeing this?
What?
Cheese, bread, and butter. I stand to the side and Raven perks up.
Oh, you found food. I swear I already checked the cupboard.
Raven is next to me a few seconds later, reaching in to take out the food. For a moment, I swear the bread blurs as he pulls it out, and I have to shut my eyes for a moment to keep from feeling sick. I feel Carl support me from behind with his hands on my shoulders.
Whoa, dude, you alright, Chase?
I grab on to the counter again. Yeah, it's just... Carl waits for a moment.
What?
I was thinking about grilled cheese before I opened the cupboard.
Like, you really wanted a grilled cheese sandwich? Really badly? And it popped up?
Sort of.
Oh.
Carl walks up to the bread and bends over, observing it closely.
It looks real.
It is real.
Raven walks up to the cupboard where he had pulled the food from and closes it.
All right. I'm wishing for a strawberry.
He closes his eyes for a moment, then reaches out to pull the cupboard open, smiling expectantly. It's empty.
Well, grilled cheese isn't bad.
Raven moves down the counter to grab one of the pans hanging from the rack. Carl moves over to my side as Raven turns the gas stove on with a click, click, click of the igniter.
Dude, I think one of the important things to do right now is to stop questioning this place. We just can't make sense of it.
I fold my arms. It has to be a dream. Carl puts his arm around me.
Maybe. But dude, I'm just glad I'm not here alone.
I nod in agreement. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to deal with that.
Let's just take it one step at a time for now, man.
I manage a small smile. Are you high right now? Carl laughs.
Man, I wish.
I hear the sizzling of the melting butter as Raven plops it down on the pan. Plops it in the pan. Carl and I go about setting slices of cheese in the bread as Raven starts searing them. The action of making food is enough to calm me down at least a little, and the other two keeping high spirits lifts me. Before long, there are 6 grilled cheese sandwiches stacked on the plate. They look good, but after the first bite, I almost let the food fall back out of my mouth. What the fuck? I look over at Carl and Raven, pulling similar faces.
Ugh. It kind of tastes like chalk.
You know what chalk tastes like?
Yeah, I ate some when I was a kid.
He has a point. It's dry, crumbly, almost inedible.
Well, it still sort of tastes like grilled cheese. Sorta.
I don't think this is food.
It's not that bad. Besides, it's all we've got.
Raven forces another bite, and so does Carl. I can't bring myself to do it. My ankle, the smoke, the dead body smell, and noose. It's all too much for me to deal with right now. I watch Carl and Raven talk back and forth, and I'm again struck with how surreal this all feels. I think back to the time when I first got stoned with a stupid pot muffin. How nothing felt real. How I felt like I wasn't in control. It's like that, only 10 times worse. I wonder if the others feel the same. Something ebbs to the surface of my mind, trying to break through the veil of fog shrouding my mind. What are we doing? Why are we sitting here eating when we should be trying to figure out a way to get the fuck out? I open my mouth. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's
fine. Everything's fine. Everything's
Everything's
fine.
fine.
Everything's fine. Everything's
I'm
fine.
gonna go with the middle one.
Middle fine.
I struggle to keep my food down and instead choose to look hard at the tablecloth.
You not hungry?
Raven is looking intently at my half-finished sandwich. Nah, you can have it. I slide my glass plate across the table to Raven. Carl watches me, but he doesn't say anything, slowly chewing. I subconsciously note that he'd eaten around the crust, leaving those on his plate. We start discussing what else we might be able to do here. Other possibilities on how we could get out. The attic is really the only place I haven't been yet. But because it's so dark, we're not sure about going.
Well, why don't we sleep on it and figure out what we'll do when we wake up?
Raven yawns widely.
That sounds good to me. Feels like it's been hours.
It does feel that way, but without our phones, it's really impossible to tell. Leaving our plates where they are on the table, Raven leads us back out into the hallway. It takes us a few minutes to find the right door, considering everything looks identical, though. Though we take special care to avoid the damaged floor. As Raven moves into the bedroom, Carl leans against the wall, turning his head to talk back to me.
Hey, we're gonna be alright, okay?
I look back at the one green eye I can see and will myself to squash the boiling pit of dread in my stomach. Okay, It's just that I can't believe this is happening, you know?
I gotcha. I just want you to know I'll be there for you, okay?
I look back at his gaze for a while, to the point where I think he's getting uncomfortable. I sigh. You guys are just acting really weird about all of this.
Yeah? Just remember, I'm never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
Never gonna run around or forget you. Or whatever the lyrics are.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Raven is being Raven, but you're acting different.
Really? How?
I swallow. Just yesterday you were throwing up over a job interview. Now you're level-headed. Now you're the level-headed one while I'm freaking out. I laugh a little. I just don't understand what's going on is all. Carl sets me down against the wall, then turns to me with a hug.
Hey man, I don't know either. I'm just trying to keep it together too.
The hug surprises me, but I take it gratefully. I stare over his shoulder at the uniform hallway. Despite Carl's efforts, the worrying feeling returns. Raven pokes his head around the doorway.
Hey, guys! That little sofa thing is awesome! I'll sleep there. You two can have the bed. And I think with that, our time today is finished.
Most likely. And of course, I wake up with Carl with a knife in his chest. Okay, so theories. I
Yes.
think that Carl has thought about offing himself before, and the noose is for Carl. The fake food was for Chase. And I have no idea when it comes to. Oh, and the fire burning was from Raven. You might have been in a fire. But I'm not sure. This could also just be a massive, like, dream trap that Chase is in. It could also be that they are all dreaming and they're all pretty much just in the exact same spot, laying on the ground in this pit. But this, whatever is going on in Echo, the hysteria or this evil power or whatever, is essentially forcing them all to dream. But it's also somehow connecting their dreams together in this sort of nightmare.
I think if what I know of Echo so far is, I think that last statement is probably the closest you are to what's actually going on. And I think at the end of this route, they actually kind of give you like a real strong hint about what's going on. Like there's some kind of weird phenomenon, but I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you experience it yourself.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like there is an evil force here. Like there is this like thing that I won't spoil for people, but it hasn't really had its powers defined yet, which is kind of weird.
Mhm.
So, it is what it is. But all right, everyone, sounds good.
Yes.
I guess I will catch you all later then.
Yes, we'll catch you all on the next part, hopefully next week. And we will
Hopefully.
continue Carl's route.
Yeah, we
Until-
might even end it.
Ooh, we got a little bit more time before we end it. But until
Good night,
then,
everyone.
bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.